Welcome to episode 18 of this Leadership in Conservation series. In this video, we'll explore stakeholder relationships and the typical stakeholders in the world of conservation. We'll highlight the importance of collaboration and engagement with different levels of stakeholders. Leading us through this topic is Dr. Xolani Nicholas Funda. Dr. Funda is the General Manager of Area Integrity Management at South African National Parks. With over 35 years of experience in protected area management, his expertise lies in social, ecological, and economic interactions, stakeholder management, and conservation governance. He has contributed to significant conservation initiatives and co-authored works on community-based natural resource management in Southern Africa. He has contributed to significant conservation initiatives and co-authored works on community-based natural resource management in the Southern Africa. After watching this video, you will understand the different types of stakeholders in conservation and their roles. You will learn how to build and manage relationships with key conservation stakeholders and discover strategies for engaging with communities, government, NGOs, and private sector partners to support conservation efforts. Now, let's listen to Dr. Funda.
Welcome to the module on typical stakeholders within the world of conservation. What you will learn out of this module, you will understand what a stakeholder is and the importance of maintaining stakeholder relationships. And you will get to know the level of stakeholder relationships and how critical it is in the world of conservation, the stakeholder relations play. Understand how the world of conservation has changed from a single discipline to a global player. And lastly, you will also learn the basic steps how to manage relationships within conservation. I think it's important that we define what a stakeholder is. A stakeholder in this context is any group of people or individual who have a direct interest or indirect interest in the operation of a protected area and the benefits provided by a protected area. Example of such groups may include employees, because sometimes we forget them that they are stakeholders, and other service providers. There are other government entities that are participating in the environment. Tourists, they bring revenue. Local communities and even members of the boards of such organizations are the major stakeholders. Secondly, it is important to understand that stakeholders function in a conservation environment at different levels, which are micro, meso, and macro. Therefore, in micro, it means at a small scale, at a local level, just a local level. And the meso means it's like a middle, is between the local and the globe. And there we talk about the regional level, where in some countries you have states, in some countries you have provinces. And within that, you work with different countries in the form of transfrontier parks, for example, and therefore they become the meso. The last but not least, we are part of the global village. And it's important that whatever we do, we also take into consideration some of the things that are happening at a global level. At a macro level, what is typical at micro level, for example, is local stakeholders. I'm thinking of traditional authorities, traditional leaders, which were denied access to their ancestral lands. I mean, if you look at evolution of conservation, conservation came from some forced removals, and those lands were under the chiefs in the olden days before proclamation. Secondly, the local farmers dealing with damage-causing animals. Sometimes we're accused in conservation of breeding damage-causing animals. Therefore, the relationship with the farmers is important to make sure that there's a better way of managing the conflict-causing animals or conflict resolutions in terms of problem animals. At meso level, it's important that we understand what are the issues at that level. For example, transfrontier conservation areas between different countries, and therefore governance becomes an issue, and therefore in terms of security, in terms of tourism. And the other important thing is regional migration of wild animals. I mean, the animals, they don't follow the boundaries of the countries, and they just move between different countries, and it's important that we collaborate with these different countries in terms of stakeholders. At a national level, we talk about global stakeholders. We are part of the globe, and we used to have slogans saying, act locally and think globally. And there are things that are important at a global stage, that are playing a role at a global stage. National and international tourists bring business to the region, to the province, to the country or countries. And therefore, we need to make sure that at an international and national level, we have a way or a mechanism of engaging those stakeholders, the tourists. And global cooperation on species of migratory birds is another example. Birds, they fly between different spheres, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And therefore, if there is no agreement or conventions at a global level, and those species will be impacted. Therefore, it's important that we understand that role. Now we'll move it to the consequences of the above layers of stakeholders, the macro, meso, and the globe or macro. Conservation have evolved from a single discipline that focus on ecological composition and functioning into incorporating of multiple disciplines, even multiple values that can be either social or societal in nature and business-wise. And these disciplines brought some new terminologies such as people, planet, and profits. Therefore, we can say there's a paradigm shift from conservation, where we were focusing on a mandate of biological diversity management, into shifting to more of sustainability. Sustainability is becoming a reality, because conservation agencies, they have to accommodate other multiple land uses out there. These changes, theoretically, they have been captured in the theory of change that challenged the status quo and called for new ways of establishing management and monitoring conservation. We became part of the global village, and therefore we have to deal with the threats that are happening at a global stage, such as climate change and all the planetary boundaries. Therefore, the stakeholder relationship become one of the most crucial leadership functions of the heads of conservation. Therefore, understanding stakeholders, dealing with stakeholders, is something that conservation agencies are always thinking about. It can become very complicated, but to make your life much easier, I share with you 5 steps that one can employ to deal with stakeholders. One is your ability to think. And people think that thinking is the easiest thing to do. And if you are not spending time on thinking of what needs to be done, and thinking is not coming automatically, and therefore thinking, reflecting, and planning as a second part. You need to plan. How are you going to execute? Who's responsible for what are the budget constraints? And what are the resources that are available to implement this? You need to prepare. You need to be prepared as a leader. You need to prepare the followers. You need to prepare the organization, so that when you engage in these stakeholder relations, you are prepared. And fourthly, you need to engage. You're dealing with humans, and therefore, if stakeholders are not engaged, are not consulted, and they might sabotage your initiatives. And critical, most important, your ability to evaluate. You need to have a monitoring and evaluation mechanism to see whether you are still moving in the right direction.
So successful conservation efforts rely on strong relationships with a diverse range of stakeholders, whether working with local communities, government agencies, non-profit organizations, or private sector partners. Effective stakeholder engagement on all geographic levels is critical to achieving conservation goals. In summary, conservation stakeholders include government agencies, local communities, businesses, and NGOs, all playing different but vital roles. Building trust and effective communication with stakeholders enhances conservation success and ensures long-term sustainability. By developing stakeholder engagement skills, you can strengthen partnerships, mobilize resources, and have a bigger impact. This concludes the Leadership in Conservation series. We encourage you to revisit this series and apply what you have learned as you continue developing your own leadership skills in the field of conservation. Don't forget to visit our website for more materials and resources that will help you on your leadership journey.